Close Americans' credit card debt has just hit a disturbing record of $1.02 trillion according to the Federal Reserve. Buzz 60 question. I'm 64. My credit score is about 656. For different reasons over a long period of time, including unemployment and health issues, I accumulated credit card debt of about $50,000. I intend to take out an unsecured personal loan, but I don't want it to have a negative impact on my credit score. I have a job now and I will pay my monthly payments on time. But what will happen if I cannot continue my payments to the lender? If I should file for bankruptcy, which is worse, defaulting on credit card debt or an unsecured personal loan? If I try to negotiate a reduction of my debt with the creditors, do you think this procedure will be successful and not take too long? And what is a nonprofit debt relief company, agency, and how could they help me? Bottom line, what strategy would you implement to resolve the debt problem if you were in my place? Do you think I could avoid bankruptcy? Answer: an unsecured personal loan can be an effective way to consolidate debt without hurting your credit score, as long as you can make all the payments on time, says April Lewis Parks, Director of Education and Corporate Communications at Consolidated Credit, a credit counseling organization, depending on the term you choose. Lewis Parks says this option may also reduce the monthly payment amount, which can help because it allows you to balance your budget so you can stop making new charges and focus on debt repayment. That is key, she says, because if you use a loan to consolidate, it zeroes out your credit card balances but typically leaves the account open. As a result, you can run up new debt before you pay the loan off, Lewis Parks says. This is why it's critical to create a budget that ensures you can live without using credit cards until you at least have your debt completely paid off. According to Lewis Parks, should you default on your unsecured personal loan, the lender would have to sue you in civil court to get a judgment that would force repayment. However, the worst outcome you could expect would be that the judge would order something like wage or tax refund garnishment, she says. More, student loan debt, 7 steps to pay it off. More, 9 things to know about your credit score and how it's calculated. More, stressed about your finances. Suggestions on what to do and who to ask for help. Close. It's not news that college has gotten pricey, leading a lot of people to take out loans. Buzz 60. Lewis Parks also says you can try to negotiate repayment plans on your own with each individual creditor. But results may vary, she says. Success in negotiation depends on the creditor, your history as a customer, the current status of your debt, and even who you talk to in the customer service department. If you decide to negotiate with your creditors, make it clear that you want to repay everything you charged in full, says Lewis Parks. If you settle for any less than the full amount owed, then you will damage your credit, she says. As for your question about a nonprofit debt relief company, agency, or what is also known as a credit counseling agency, such as Consolidated Credit, these organizations basically offer a professionally assisted repayment plan, she says. It's not a loan because you still owe your original creditors. The agency talks to each of your creditors to set up a repayment plan and reduce or eliminate interest charges. It's the same as you negotiating with individual creditors on your own, except the agency has the ability to negotiate a single repayment plan that covers all your debts, she says. The agency simply takes your payment and distributes it to your creditors according to the negotiated repayment schedule, she says. Lewis Parks notes that these agencies also have established relationships with creditors and proven records of helping other consumers get out of debt. As a result, they often have more success negotiating on your behalf than if you try to negotiate on your own, she says. There are other advantages to using a professional nonprofit debt relief company as well, she says. First, once you set up the repayment plan, all of your credit card accounts are frozen until you pay off your debt, says Lewis Parks. This may seem like a disadvantage, but it keeps you from making new charges, which is one of the biggest pitfalls of consolidating debt on your own. What's more, the credit counseling team will also help you set up a budget, so it's easier to manage your money and live credit-free while you're enrolled. These programs are often more effective at helping people break bad credit habits, she says. Working with a nonprofit debt relief company should also not damage your credit as long as the plan is set up correctly and you make all your payments on time, she says. Fees charged by the agency are based on a person's budget, how many credit cards they have and how much they owe. The average client pays about $40 a month, she says. And while the fees vary state by state, they're limited to $79 a month. The good news is that given the situation described, the creditor in question should be able to avoid bankruptcy, says Louis Parks. And as long as you repay everything you charged in full and avoid debt settlement, you shouldn't damage your credit either, she says. As for which option is better, unsecured personal consolidation loan or repayment plan, that really depends on you and your budget. With $50,000 to repay, you are right at the cusp of what most people can afford to repay with an unsecured personal consolidation loan, says Louis Parks. Plus, you'll likely need to use the maximum term to get payments you can afford, which is usually 48 to 60 payments, depending on the lender. Close. If you're in the market for a new ride but haven't been saving up, you may want to pump the brakes. Buzz 60. On the other hand, the repayment plan that you enroll in through a nonprofit debt relief company is designed to help consumers deal with larger volumes of debt, she says. Some of these companies even work with people who owe over $100,000, and they still help them successfully set up a repayment plan that pays off everything they owe. These plans typically run for 36 to 60 payments, depending on the monthly payments you can afford. So, it's up to you, says Louis Parks. If you can afford the monthly payments on an unsecured debt consolidation loan and you think you can balance your budget and stop charging, then you may be able to go it alone, she says. However, if you're concerned you won't be able to stop charging, do-it-yourself consolidation can be risky. The silver lining, she says, is that if you try to consolidate on your own and start to run into trouble, you can still decide to work with a debt relief company. They can consolidate debt consolidation loans, along with any new credit card debt you took on after consolidation, says Louis Parks. Robert Powell is the editor of The Street's Retirement Daily and contributes regularly to USA Today. Got questions about money? Email bob@powell@allthingsretirement.com. The views and opinions expressed in this column are the author's and do not necessarily reflect those of USA Today. A new study shows millennials are delaying life events due to being in debt. Elizabeth Keating has more. Buzz 60. Read or share this story. https://usat.ly/2xrune